What if the snack you're eating right now? Yes, that handful of nuts you think is keeping you healthy is quietly stealing your ability to walk, clouding your mind, and pushing you closer to a wheelchair? Hi, I'm Dr. Thomas, a doctor with 30 years of experience digging deep into the science of aging, health, and the human spirit. Welcome to Living Fully After 50, where we're not just talking about surviving your golden years, we're about thriving, laughing, and chasing grandkids without fear. Today, I'm not here to lecture you. I'm here to tell you a story that hit me like a ton of bricks, a story about a patient named Linda, a 68-year-old grandmother whose life changed because of a single choice: the nuts she ate every day. Picture Linda, a woman with a laugh that could warm a room, a retired nurse who spent her days gardening and reading bedtime stories to her grandkids. She walked into my clinic one crisp autumn morning, her eyes filled with a fear I'll never forget. "Dr. Thomas," she whispered, gripping her cane, "I can't keep up anymore. My legs shake, my memory's slipping, and I'm terrified I'll fall and lose everything: my garden, my grandkids, my independence." Her voice cracked as she said, "I just want to feel like me again." Linda's story isn't just hers, it's the story of millions of seniors who feel their strength slipping, their confidence fading, and their dreams of active, joyful years crumbling. And here's the shocking truth: the nuts she was snacking on, thinking they were healthy, were betraying her body, quietly eroding her bones, her heart, and her mind. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain on 3 nuts you must avoid to protect your legs, your clarity, and your freedom, and 3 others you need to embrace to reclaim the life you love. This isn't about diet. It's about holding on to the moments that matter: dancing at your granddaughter's wedding, walking your dog without pain, or simply standing tall without fear. If you're ready to take control of your health, type 1 in the comments below. If this doesn't resonate, type 0 so I can make it better for you. And if you're new to Living Fully After 50, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a tip that could save your independence. Let's walk through Linda's journey together and uncover the truth that could change everything. Part 1: The Nuts That Betrayed Linda. A hidden thread in every handful. Linda was the kind of person who radiated warmth. She'd bring homemade cookies to our appointments, always with a story about her grandkids' latest adventures. But that day, as she sat across from me, her hands trembling, I knew something was wrong. We went through her diet, her medications, her lifestyle, and one thing jumped out: her daily snacks. Linda loved peanuts, cashews, and pine nuts, nuts she thought were wholesome, heart-healthy choices. But as I dug deeper, I realized these weren't just snacks, they were silent threats, chipping away at her body's foundation. Over my 30 years as a doctor, I've seen how the foods we eat, especially as we age, can either build us up or tear us down. For seniors like Linda, the wrong nuts can mean the difference between dancing with your grandkids and struggling to stand. Let's break down the 3 nuts Linda was eating, the ones I now warn every senior to avoid, and why they are so dangerous. 1. Peanuts, the silent thief of strength. Linda's favorite snack was a peanut butter sandwich. "It's comfort food, Dr. Thomas," she'd say, her eyes lighting up. "Reminds me of my childhood." But when we ran tests, I found something alarming. Her liver enzymes were elevated, her joints were inflamed, and her muscle strength was fading faster than it should. The culprit? Those peanuts she loved. Peanuts aren't true nuts, they are legumes, grown underground, which makes them prone to aflatoxins, toxic compounds produced by mold. As we age, our liver's ability to detoxify these poisons weakens. For Linda, years of eating peanuts had quietly stressed her liver, raising her risk of cellular aging and even cancer. A 2018 study in the Journal of Hepatology found that aflatoxin exposure over time can lead to silent liver damage, especially in seniors with declining detox capacity. But the danger doesn't stop there. Peanuts are packed with omega-6 fatty acids, which, in excess, ignite inflammation, a slow, relentless fire that attacks joints, stiffens arteries, and erodes muscles. For Linda, this meant aching knees, shaky legs, and a heart working overtime. Inflammation is the enemy of mobility, making every step a battle. As the great philosopher Hippocrates once said, "Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food." But peanuts? For seniors, they are more poison than medicine. Linda was also on a blood thinner for her atrial fibrillation, a common condition in seniors. Peanuts' vitamin K content can interfere with these medications, risking blood clots or bleeding. A 2015 study in thrombosis research highlighted how even small amounts of vitamin K-rich foods can destabilize warfarines effects, something Linda's cardiologist hadn't warned her about. And her beloved peanut butter? Loaded with added sugars and hydrogenated oils, it was spiking her blood pressure and straining her heart. Every bite was a step toward hospital visits, not health. A small story, Tom's wake-up call. Let me tell you about Tom, a 70-year-old carpenter I treated years ago. Tom loved peanut brittle, a treat he'd share with his fishing buddies. But he started feeling sluggish, his legs weak, his joints stiff. Tests showed early liver stress, likely from aflatoxins. When we swapped peanuts for a safer nut, Tom's energy returned. Last I heard, he was back on the lake, casting lines with a grin. Could peanuts be holding you back, too? 2 cashews, the bone-robbing culprit. Linda's evening ritual was a handful of cashews while watching her favorite mystery shows. "They are so creamy, Dr. Thomas," she'd say. "I thought they were good for me." But when we reviewed her bone density scan, my heart sank. Linda was on the brink of osteoporosis, her bones thinning faster than they should. Cashews were part of the problem. Cashews are high in oxalates, compounds that bind to calcium in your gut, preventing absorption. For seniors like Linda, whose bones naturally lose density with age, this is a crisis. Weak bones mean fragile hips, brittle wrists, and a fall that could end your independence. I'll never forget Linda's story about her friend Mary, who broke her hip after slipping on a wet floor. Mary spent her final years in a nursing home, her spirit broken. "I can't let that happen to me," Linda said, her voice trembling. Cashews also spike Linda's blood sugar. Their high carbohydrate content, surprising for a nut, can wreak havoc on seniors, where diabetes affects nearly 30% of us, according to the CDC. These spikes damage blood vessels in the legs and feet, leading to numbness, slow-healing wounds, and, in worst cases, amputations. Linda was noticing tingling in her toes, a warning sign I couldn't ignore. And those oxalates? They also increase kidney stone risk, a painful condition that's brutal for seniors with declining kidney function. Then there's the choking hazard. Cashews' smooth texture made them risky for Linda, who'd started experiencing dry mouth, a side effect of her medications. One evening, she choked on a cashew, coughing so hard she thought she'd pass out. That scare was a wake-up call, but it shouldn't take a near miss to change your habits. A small story: Ruth's redemption. Ruth, a 67-year-old piano teacher, loved cashew butter on her toast. But after a kidney stone landed her in the ER, we found her calcium levels were low, despite supplements, because of oxalates. We switched her to a bone-friendly nut, and her next scan showed stronger bones. Ruth's back to playing Beethoven with steady hands, proof that small changes can rewrite your story. 3 pine nuts, the mind and medication saboteur. Linda's salads were her pride and joy, always topped with pine nuts for a touch of elegance. But when she started complaining about a bitter, metallic taste that made every meal unbearable, I suspected pine mouth syndrome. This strange condition, linked to pine nuts, can last weeks, suppressing appetite. For Linda, who was already losing weight, this was dangerous. Malnutrition weakens muscles, slows healing, and increases fall risk. Pine nuts were also risky because of Linda's medications: statins for cholesterol, blood pressure pills, and an antidepressant. Pine nuts contain compounds that can interfere with over 60% of common medications, according to a 2020 study in pharmacology. For Linda, this meant a risk of soaring blood pressure or irregular heart rhythms, dangers her doctors hadn't flagged. As Maya Angelou wisely said, "When you know better, you do better." But no one had told Linda about pine nuts. Then there's oxidation. Pine nuts' polyunsaturated fats go rancid quickly, releasing compounds that inflame joints, stiffen arteries, and damage brain cells. Linda was noticing memory lapses, forgetting her grandson's soccer game, struggling to find her keys. Oxidative stress is a leading cause of cognitive decline, and pine nuts were accelerating it. Their tiny size also made them a choking hazard, especially for Linda's dry mouth. A small story: George's turning point. George, a 71-year-old retired pilot, came to me after weeks of brain fog and a metallic taste that ruined his meals. He'd been eating pine nuts in his pesto. After we cut them out, his appetite returned, and his memory sharpened. George even started flying model planes again, a hobby he'd abandoned. His story shows how one small change can bring you back to yourself. Part 2. The Turning Point: Linda's Fight Back. When I sat down with Linda to review her diet, her eyes filled with tears. "Dr. Thomas, I thought I was doing everything right," she said. My heart ached for her. I've seen this moment so many times in my 30 years, a patient who feels betrayed by their own choices. But I took her hand and said, "Linda, this isn't the end. It's a new beginning. We're going to rebuild your strength, step by step, starting with the right nuts." I introduced Linda to 3 nuts that weren't just snacks, they were lifelines. These nuts could protect her bones, strengthen her heart, and sharpen her mind. They were her allies in the fight to reclaim her life, and they can be yours, too. 1. Almonds, the foundation of strength. The first nut I gave Linda was almonds. "Think of each almond as a brick," I told her, "building a stronger foundation for your bones and muscles." Almonds are packed with calcium and magnesium, a powerhouse duo for seniors. Calcium fortifies bones, while magnesium ensures it's absorbed properly, not clogging arteries. For Linda, whose bone density was slipping, almonds were a shield against osteoporosis. A 2017 study in the Journal of Bone and Mineral Research found that regular almond consumption improved bone density in seniors, reducing fracture risk. Almonds also provide plant-based protein and monounsaturated fats, essential for maintaining muscle mass. For Linda, who struggled to climb her porch steps, this meant stronger legs and better balance. Their fiber eased her bloating, giving her more energy to garden. And the antioxidants in almond skins? They fight oxidative stress, protecting brain cells. Linda started remembering her grandkids' birthdays without a calendar, a small victory that meant the world. A small story: Betty's breakthrough. Betty, a 69-year-old seamstress, was terrified of falling after a neighbor's hip fracture. We added almonds to her diet, and 6 months later, her bone density improved. She's back to sewing quilts for her church, her hands steady and her heart light. Betty's story reminds us that every almond is a step toward freedom. 2. Walnuts, the guardian of mind and movement. Next, I handed Linda a bag of walnuts. "Look at their shape," I said. "Nature's telling us they are brain food." Walnuts are rich in alpha-linolenic acid, ALA, a plant-based omega-3 that keeps brain cell membranes flexible, slowing cognitive decline. For Linda, who feared forgetting her family's faces, walnuts were hope. Their polyphenols cross the blood-brain barrier, fighting inflammation and protecting neurons. A 2019 study in neurology showed that seniors eating walnuts had better memory and fewer falls. Walnuts also boosted Linda's mobility. Their arginine improves blood flow, delivering oxygen to muscles for steadier steps. Linda noticed she was tripping less often, even on her uneven garden path. And their melatonin helped her sleep, waking her refreshed. As Nelson Mandela said, "It always seems impossible until it's done." Walnuts made the impossible, Linda's confidence, possible again. A small story, Frank's revival. Frank, a 70-year-old jazz musician, came to me after forgetting lyrics mid-performance. We added walnuts, and within months, he was back on stage, singing with clarity. His wife said, "Dr. Thomas, you gave us our music back." Frank's story is a reminder that walnuts nurture more than your body, they nurture your soul. 3 pistachios, the heartbeat of joy. Finally, I introduced Linda to pistachios. Their vibrant green and purple hues made her smile. "These are fun," she said, cracking open a shell. Pistachios are rich in potassium, which lowers blood pressure by balancing sodium. For Linda, whose hypertension was draining her energy, this was a game changer. Better circulation meant stronger legs and fewer dizzy spells. A 2021 study in hypertension found that pistachios reduced blood pressure in seniors, supporting heart health. Pistachios also protect vision with lutein and zeaxanthin, antioxidants that shield the macula from degeneration. Linda, who loved reading to her grandkids, noticed sharper vision. Their crunch encouraged mindful eating, preventing overeating, and shelling them kept her hands nimble. As Oprah Winfrey once said, "The greatest discovery of all time is that a person can change his future by merely changing his attitude." Pistachios' playful nature lifted Linda's spirits, making healthy eating a joy. A small story, Alice's vision. Alice, a 72-year-old painter, was losing her vision to macular degeneration. After adding pistachios, her eye doctor noted slower progression. Alice painted a portrait of her grandson last month, colors vivid again. Her story shows that pistachios are more than a snack, they are a spark of hope. Part 3, the high stakes, Linda's breaking point. 3 months into our plan, Linda hit a wall. She called me in a panic one evening, her voice shaking. "Dr. Thomas, I almost fell today. I was carrying groceries, and my legs gave out. I'm so scared." My heart sank. We'd made progress, but Linda was still eating peanuts occasionally, thinking a little wouldn't hurt. That near fall was her wake-up call, a moment that could have changed everything. If she'd fallen, a broken hip could have landed her in a nursing home, stealing her garden, her grandkids, her life. We doubled down. No more peanuts, cashews, or pine nuts, only almonds, walnuts, and pistachios. I gave her a journal to track her snacks, a small act of accountability. And I shared a quote from Maya Angelou: "You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them." Linda took it to heart, choosing to fight for her strength. Part 4, the climax, Linda's transformation. 6 months later, Linda walked into my clinic, no cane, no hesitation, just a radiant smile. "Dr. Thomas," she said, "I ran with my grandkids yesterday. Ran. And I didn't ache afterward." Her bone density had improved, her blood pressure was stable, and her memory was sharper. She'd even started writing poetry again, a passion she'd lost years ago. Tests showed reduced inflammation, better liver function, and stronger muscles. Linda wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. But the real climax came at her granddaughter's wedding. Linda told me she danced all night, twirling with her husband under the stars, something she hadn't done in a decade. "I felt like me again," she said, tears in her eyes. That moment, Linda's joy, her freedom, was worth every step of our journey. Part 5: The Ripple Effect and Your Choice. Linda's story didn't end with her. She started sharing her nut wisdom with her senior center, inspiring friends like Carol, who avoided a fall after switching to almonds, and Mike, who regained his memory with walnuts. Linda's transformation became a ripple, touching lives she'll never know. And that's why I'm here, sharing this with you on Living Fully After 50. Your choices don't just change you, they change the world around you. The lesson: your health is in your hands. Peanuts, cashews, and pine nuts may seem harmless, but for seniors, they are thieves, stealing your strength, your clarity, your independence. Almonds, walnuts, and pistachios are your allies, rebuilding your bones, protecting your heart, and sharpening your mind. Every bite is a choice to walk without fear, to remember with clarity, to live with joy. A final surprise: just last week, Linda sent me a video. She was in her garden, planting tulips with her grandkids, laughing as they dug in the dirt. "Dr. Thomas," she wrote, "this is what living fully after 50 means." That video is my why I share these stories, why I believe in you. You're not just a number on a chart. You're a person with dreams, with love, with a life worth fighting for. Conclusion: your power, your future. My friends, as a doctor who's spent 30 years walking beside patients like Linda, I've seen the power of a single choice. You don't have to let age steal your strength. You don't have to fear the next step. Avoid peanuts, cashews, and pine nuts. Embrace almonds, walnuts, and pistachios. Let every bite be a promise to yourself, to your family, to the life you still want to live. In the words of Eleanor Roosevelt, the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Your dream of running with grandkids, gardening without pain, or dancing under the stars, it's not out of reach. It starts with the nuts you choose today. I want to hear from you. In the comments, share one change you'll make or one dream you're fighting for. Type 1 if this story moved you, or 0 if I can do better. Like, share, and subscribe to Living Fully After 50 for more stories that inspire you to thrive. Here's to living fully, fiercely, and fearlessly because you deserve it. With all my heart. Dr. Thomas.